Great. I call the committee of the whole meeting for Monday, November 4th, 2024 to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gaffino.
Here.
Trustee Christensen.
Here.
Trustee Gately.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Nedved.
Here.
Trustee Salazar. Here.
Great. Thank you. Audience comments? Trustee comments? Item 1 in discussion, Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1 is a Randall Crossing Promenade 2 and hotel conversion. This is a concept plan. So as you know, concept plans aren't necessarily full submittals yet. Their idea is that we bring to the board where we think the board might have some questions or thoughts. And the developer is typically just looking for feedback on whether or not to move forward with the project. With that, Nathan's actually going to walk you through the concept that you're about to see. And if the board so moves to accept the concept, this is typically where the developer will then work with our staff to create a submittal if they want to move forward for Plan Commission review.
Okay, so I'll be brief and then I'll invite Kevin up here. He's got some slides he would like to show you. Randall Crossing Promenade, so the existing building, the mixed use building is there, and then the My Place Hotel is there. You know, the whole development started life back in 2005. And just for reference, Randall Highlands generally refers to the residential portion, and Randall Crossing refers to the commercial portion. I love how everything has got the word Randall in it. It's super easy to keep it all straight in my head, but I'm figuring it out. I'm almost there. The developer is going to bring 2 proposals before you tonight. The first part would be to build a second building on the vacant lot here, which would mirror the existing mixed-use building. So similar style, similar architecture, 3-story, apartments above, and a small retail space, a flex commercial space on the first floor. The second proposal would be to convert the My Place Hotel, which is not doing well, into a independent senior living facility. So that's kind of the high end. And then Kevin, come up. He's got several slides for you here and can go into some of the details.
Thank you, Nathan. Kevin Dermody. I'm actually the original developer of Randall Crossing. So it's been 20 years, I think, that I've been stopping in here. Appreciate y'all taking some time tonight. I'll be fairly brief on this concept. Basically, our goal is to try to come up with a concept that expands on what's working at Randall Crossings. We've had a great deal of success with the 40 townhomes that we built. They've maintained 100% occupancy ever since we completed them in 2018. And we've had a good deal of success with the Randall Promenade project, which we went vertical with during COVID, and we've maintained 100% occupancy there. We did struggle with our commercial space there, but we did finally get an excellent tenant in Crema Roasters who's doing quite well. Great little coffee shop. If you haven't been there, I encourage you to stop by. Really good people. We also created some small office suites there, which are doing decently. We have only one that's vacant currently. So that's kind of what started us down this path, because we have developed a really nice community there. We do a lot of tenant appreciation events and have had a really good vibe developed there, which has been really fun. The 2 things I'm going to talk about tonight is what I'm referring to as Randall Crossings Promenade 2 and a conversion of My Place Hotel. Basically, the idea, what you see here, we're building up what has worked and expanding. Promenade 2 would feature the same design as Promenade 1, which has had a lot of really positive feedback. I think we came up with a really cool building design. The uplighting looks great at night, and it's got a nice vibe to it. And then converting My Place Hotel to Randall Residences, which would provide seniors looking for an independent living community a nice, safe environment. And I'll explain a little bit of the economics of why we want to do that when I get to that in a second. Both of these projects obviously build off of the existing retail and restaurant members of the Randall Crossing community. Then I have our website on there too, if you want to take a look at the Promenade website at your leisure. It does show all of our layouts, and the layouts in the new building would be very, very similar to what you see on our current website. Nathan, if you want to go ahead and advance there. So this is our idea of the initial site plan. Obviously, nothing changes with the hotel. We would be making a capital investment in changing a lot of the interior in the hotel and providing some amenities. But as far as the structure itself, we would not be changing the footprint at all. We wouldn't be changing anything that you see outside other than removing the signage and changing the signage on the building. We worked on several different designs on our remaining vacant lot. We spun the building different ways, and we found by aligning the building, it creates, I think, a really nice kind of gateway into the community. It also opens the parking field. On the bottom right of that building, we put an optional patio there for the 2,000 square feet of non-residential flex space on the first floor. Our hope is we would get some type of light restaurant user in there, maybe a sandwich shop or something like that. We have nothing lined up at this point. And the idea would be to have somewhere between 30 and 34 residential units. The only reason I give a slight variance there is we haven't done a final design, and our goal is to do exactly what we did. So at Randall Promenade, we have 28 units, and there's 15 one bedrooms and 13 studios. We would pretty much mirror that concept, except we might add 2 or 3 what we would call one bedroom pluses, where they're one bedroom, but they have a little extra space for somebody that wants to have a den or a guest over. The feedback that we've had from tenants at Randall Promenade is we provide a clean, cost-efficient alternative to some of the full-service apartment complexes. There's a lot of wonderful apartment complexes in the area that have tons of amenities, and if that's what somebody wants, that's available. What we've tried to provide is a very clean environment without a bunch of amenities that some people don't want to use. They just want a nice, clean product. And if you haven't been in our building or taken a look at our website, please do. Even though these units are small footprints, we do higher ceilings, higher moldings, granite countertops, stainless appliances. So you walk into a studio or a one bedroom and it feels much bigger than it is because of the size of our windows and because of what we've done in our design. So it's a really cool product. I think that's about it on the site plan for now. It's slightly over parked, and there's some other things we can touch on later on that. Apartment elevation, it'll be exact. I'm sorry, I thought I had a question. It will be exactly like the one next door. I've already touched on the fact it's going to have 2,000 square feet of non-residential flex space, optional outside patio and seating. And really, it just creates it continues the flow of what we've already built there, and I think creates a nice gateway and an entryway to the site. Go ahead and move on to the next one. The hotel conversion, I want to just spend a minute on so people can understand why we're bringing this up. When we originally wanted to develop that corner of the site, we proposed 70 rental townhomes, and we ultimately kind of agreed at this concept of 40 rental townhomes and doing a hotel. At that time, we went to almost every flag out there. We developed a good relationship with the folks from My Place, expected to do well. We had a third-party group, HVS Hospitality, do a feasibility report. And just to give you some real economics of where we stand, the HVS feasibility report projected that by 2024, this hotel would be averaging about 70% annual occupancy with $108 ADR, average daily rate. And that would have generated top-line revenue for this hotel of about $1.94 million a year. Where we stand today is, a year ago, we hit 50% occupancy for the year with an ADR of 105. This year, we are averaging 48% occupancy with an ADR of 103. And we will finish yet another year almost 730,000 behind what the stated goal was of the original feasibility study. What that means is we have never had a year where we have not had operating losses. The capital partners have had to pump in over $500,000 in capital contributions just for operating expenses. One of the capital partners has left the transaction because they didn't want to contribute to any further capital contributions. And we're now stuck in a situation where we're trying to figure out what's the best way to salvage this site. I have talked to other flags about potentially selling the hotel. We have over $8.5 million invested in this product. The highest offer I've received is $3.9 million. That's not particularly appealing, especially if you knew what our bank debt was. So at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out a better way to operate this. There's other things that have gone on. I mean, obviously there are certain burdens that come with a hotel like this. We have had some issues at the hotel with less than desirable guests and other issues with people in the parking lots that are providing things to guests at the hotel. So there's been some nuisance related to the hotel, although I think our current manager does a very, very good job and runs a very clean ship. Financially, this product just will not make it if we cannot get over 60% consistent occupancy rates, and we're not even close. It seems to me the biggest pushback is our distance from the highway and the other hotels that are closer to the highway. And it's just an ongoing challenge for us. So in evaluating alternatives, we were approached by a high-end substance abuse center. We really didn't want to head that direction. So we started to evaluate into what's kind of the gap between seniors living at home and seniors going to assisted living. Personally, I've been through this over the past 10 years with my parents. I've been in and out of 6 different assisted living centers. My father just passed away 2 months ago in a memory care facility. My mother's in an assisted living facility. I have seen what assisted living facilities provide and what care I can get for my parents in their home. And when somebody is still able to do things themselves, as little as 5 years ago, I would have rather had an alternative for my parents in an independent living center than a full assisted living center. And this is what we want to try to create here, is more of a boutique independent living center. This center would basically have 56 to 60 rooms. There'd probably be a lot of widowers there. There'd probably be people that just are looking for a safe environment. The cost to get into assisted living typically starts at around $5,500 a month and quickly gets up to $9,000 plus a month, depending on your levels of care. Independent living, we can start pricing as low as $2,000 a month and still have the amenities that they need, a common area to share stuff. We would rely on outside food providers. We would not need an in-house kitchen because we're not assisted living, we're independent living. But we would provide concierge services through one of my partners owns Elite Home Healthcare. We would have other benefits there and counseling for people in that environment. It's really kind of that step between living on your own with some care in the house and needing full assisted living. And it can be accomplished in a really nice, safe environment. And that's our goal that we want to create here. We would actually do it with most of our same staff. I love our current GM, Matt. I think he does a fantastic job. I've been with him as he's checked out older residents who have grown to really like him when they stay for a while, and he would really take a lot of pride in continuing on in this position. We've got some good housekeepers and other staff that would stay with us if we convert to this environment. So that's pretty much it. The existing facility fits this model really well. It's just small, clean, efficiency units with shared common area and support on site 24/7 for people who want a nice, clean environment. So that's pretty much it between the two. I'm happy to take some questions if anybody has any questions, or if there's anything else I can expand on.
What makes you think that you'll be able to fill the place? Have you done some research on that?
Yeah. So Scott, who's here, Scott and Jennifer are both realtors, and they've also been property managers for us for about 7 years now. Jennifer is our property manager at the townhomes as well as the apartment building. They went out and they researched all of the independent living products in the area, and there's kind of a gap in this particular market. There's some product north of here, and there's some product south of here. If you take like a Plum Landing, downtown Aurora, they're on a wait list at that facility. They average right around $2,000 a month. They go up a little higher than that because they provide some additional amenities depending on your package. But the demand based on the third-party reports we've looked at show that there's probably at least demand for 200 to 300 independent living units just in this pocket in North Aurora area.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Would these all have full kitchens?
So we would use the existing kitchen as it is. So each of the My Place units currently have refrigerators. They have hot plate stoves. No ovens, though. We have microwave ovens, but we would not go with a full oven or range in there for a number of reasons. And we also want to encourage outside food deliveries, and we've got some vendors that we want to have partnerships with that are existing tenants, Raimundo's and others that are very interested in participating in a solution for that.
I'm kind of happy that you're being proactive instead of waiting for that hotel to go under. And so I like the idea. I don't see a downside to it. And then as far as the Promenade 2, I mean, if number one's working well, why not do another one? I kind of like that as well.
I'm fine with both.
Good.
I like the idea, and I think the independent living is probably going to fill a need that is not currently being met in the area. And I think that the existing apartment building looks very nice, and so I think putting something that looks very similar is gonna add to the area. So I'm in favor of both.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, same for me. You know, it's like, what's the point of if you're running 48%? That's, and if this is an option that, you know, you can pretty much use the same type of unit and bring good people there, it's like, you know, it's a good thing. So, and as far as apartment too, I do like the style on the
Thanks.
current one. It is kind of more edgy or more current, you know, it's not just a block building with some siding or something on it. So it is attractive. So yeah, I'm fine with it as well. So
Thank you.
Steve, anything else?
That's it. So Nathan's got, he'll be working with Kevin to go forward with the concept.
You would have to go through the PUD process, so open back up, amend it, planning commission, public hearing. Whole thing. So I know you're excited. We'll get working on it.
We got the first step done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all very
Yep.
much. Have a
Thanks.
good
Yep.
evening.
Mhm, you too. All right, item 2, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 2 is on the ground.
So while you're fiddling, consistent with what we've done with other Oak Hill things that involve expenditures of money, I think Todd's gonna take a seat in the audience and remove himself from the discussion.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Item number 2 is regarding the Oak Hill Special Service Area detention and actually a retention basin. So we go back and forth on that. I'm just going to remind the board. So we've already been to the board to talk about this project. The short version is after the HOA dissolved, the village already had an active SSA, so a special service area, which is an annual tax levy we do to collect money to maintain certain things in case the HOA or a developer goes defunct. And in this case, we had, going back a few years ago, we were taking in about $10,000 a year through this SSA. We increased it last year to $25,000. And then when the HOA dissolved, we were really going after the pond, which was an issue. It's been an issue for a few years. The HOA has brought it to our attention. So now that we're responsible for the maintenance of it, as you recall, we had a pond assessment done. And this is an important slide just to remind the board of where we're at. So it might be hard to see on the screen a little bit, but the red is the high priority areas that the company V3 that did the pond assessment. This is where they said has the most erosion, most chance to make the pond not act in the function that it's supposed to for stormwater management. And then the orange, of course, would be medium, and then yellow is low priority, which in the low priority areas, they basically determined there isn't any, not only immediate, but maybe even very little long-term effect. A lot of that has to do with the westerly winds and things like that, moving the water. As you can see, it's hitting that eastern shoreline because that's the way the water tends to move. Here's just some pictures that we showed of, this was back in September when we met with the board. And just to show you some of the erosion, you can see kind of how it drops off. It's very steep. There's not any vegetation to hold it back. So when we came to the board, V3's estimate on the project was about $375,000. This is basically to do both the high and medium areas, add stone toe stabilization, basically is rock, it's a fancy word for rock. And bank reshaping is where they kind of smooth out the ground and the areas to make it flatter where they need to, or pitch it the way they need to do, and then add some vegetation to it to hold. So when we showed the board just some ideas of what it might cost, knowing that this project was going to cost that much, and the SSA only has currently around $39,000 in the bank. We knew that it was going to be a massive expense, and we didn't want to put it all on the residents in 1 year. Otherwise, the average homeowner would have saw, as you can see, a $4,000 increase. So we went to the board and we gave 10, 15, and 20-year payment options where the village basically pays for it every year. We front the cost for the work, and then we reimburse ourselves through the SSA. That was the reason I wanted to highlight this, just to go back and show you where we ended up. So as you can see, the homeowner, if you're doing everything, would see about a $203 increase. If you only do the high areas, it was about 55. So we went out and did proposals in September. We got 2 back in October. The most important thing that when you look at these numbers, that 451 and 437, that does have 3 years of maintenance embedded in it. So if you minus those 3 years out, the actual construction costs are lower. So that 375 that we had, that estimate, was based on pure construction. So if you're doing apples to apples, if you're looking at, let's say, Semper Fi, which was the low at 437, if you back out their 3-year maintenance that was added into that proposal, they're closer to 409. So about $30,000, $30,000 to $30,000 higher, 30 to 35,000 over what our estimated cost was going to be for the project. But if you look at that bottom bullet point, when we remove that $30,000, when we remove the maintenance cost, and then you take $30,000 of the $39,000 in the SSA that we've been building at Fund Up, we can actually drop the total price, the impact to the residents, closer to what it would be based on that $375,000 estimate. So what we're looking at here is based on those numbers, what's the impact? So, you know, if you do high and medium, it's $206 over a 20-year period. High only would be 65. So that's not too far off from the 203 and the 54 that you saw earlier. But what we were able to do is, when we look at the SSA, last year we had increased it from 10,000 to 25,000. That $15,000 increase was actually building money towards the future pond project. And what we ended up doing was we tweaked some of the areas, and we were able to drop a few $1,000s off of that 25, and then essentially added the annual cost of the restoration project back in. So what we would see is, from last year's levy, you're seeing about a $25,000 last year to a $40,500 difference. So the $15,000 jump from last year, but what it really is over 2 years, you would have seen a much bigger jump. The village would have gone from 10,000 to 40,000. The difference being, it is offset a little bit that there is no HOA fee anymore. But, you know, to put that in perspective, several years ago, the HOA was charging $160 a year. At $10,000, the SSA was charging an additional $109. So the average home in Oak Hill would have saw a total impact of $269. Last year, with the HOA dissolving, you take away the $160 that they were paying. We increased it to $25,000. So the total impact to residents was $272. So you went from $269 to $272. Is negligible, is basically a wash. But now what you're seeing is that impact, because of the pond project, the average home will go from paying $272 for all their annual maintenance in the subdivision to $442. So it's about a $170 increase for the year. So, and then what Jason would do is he would put that on the levy ordinance that we would talk about in December, and the board would vote on it. But as you see it down there, so the average home, there you see the current one at 271, projected SSA levy is at 444. What we would do is, tonight's meeting is all about whether or not the board wants to go forward with the full project, the high and medium areas all at once. That was what was indicated to us before we got the pricing back. We want to make sure that the board is still on board with that before we meet with Oak Hill residents, and then bring that total amount back to you in December. I mean, ultimately, Jason did a nice job of trying to smooth it out so that the impact was as little as possible. And, you know, I do want to go over this real quick, just in case there's any Oak Hill residents watching. just to give you kind of a feedback of where it's at. When you look at that 18,750, that's the total price, and it actually should be closer to 19,000 after we did some recalculations. But that's the annual cost for the pond project. The pond and creek maintenance, what you see below is, like, for instance, Semper Fi has a $9,000, price to do, or sorry, $28,000 over 3 years of maintenance. So it's about $9,000 a year just to maintain the pond once the project's done. Every year you got to put some vegetation. Maybe that number drops after year 3. The first 3 years, you got to add vegetation, make sure that anything that dies gets replanted. You're trying to make sure that it doesn't fall into disrepair right after you did this expensive project. So that number is, might be a little bit able to go down in the future, but right now it includes that maintenance, and it includes a dollar amount that Brian will put aside for, they have a creek that exits into the town center wetlands, and they have a creek that actually goes into the pond from the north. Every now and then, those need to either be dredged out or need to be cleaned up so that they flow properly and the water conveys to the proper location. So we're building a budget in for that, a couple $1,000s a year, because it cost, like, I think it was about $10,000 last time we dredged it, and that was about 5-6 years ago. Now, the common area maintenance at 10.5, that includes the mowing is about $7,000 a year for the subdivision, 6,800. But now we're factoring the cost for electric. Brian had to take some trees down this year that were previously on the HOA's property, so that's now our property. So you have tree maintenance that's also in there. So like I said, you also have the sign. We have a little bit of money put aside for the sign. There is mulch every now and then, so we put a little bit of money in for mulch. So we'll see how that number sticks over time. I mean, we'll adjust it just like we do every SSA. Every year we'll take a review, and if we see that everything is, if it's high, we just reduce it back. If it needs to be upped, we'll up it a little bit. But the goal of this was to, after the first year impact, to smooth this out the best as possible so that residents wouldn't see another giant increase in the future for a major project. The idea is to build that reserve back up. The HOA has indicated that there is some funding left that they have at a bank. We reached out to the bank. They weren't able to give us the exact dollar amount at the time that we reached out to them. But supposedly we are going to get a check soon sent to us, and that would be deposited for the SSA fund. So we're trying to do everything. We're treating this almost like a capital project, like we would in our project fund. This subdivision now has a multifaceted maintenance program to it. So if the board is good with high and medium, then that's what we'll go forward with in scheduled meeting. If you have any other thoughts, please ask questions.
No, I'm fine with it.
So I just want to, for my own clarification, the increase to the there'll be 444.22 on their tax bill that would go, it would be that much more. So that's going to be an increase of 444, or it's an increase of $170. $170.
Yeah. So the
That's
NDC
for- and that's for
271 on
20
the
years.
tax bill.
That's for 20 years, every year.
Yes, for 20 years, that $170 number is the one number that will probably be the steadiest, because it's basically the upfront dollar cost right now. The board chose not to put any interest on it. So you're just taking that one-time fee of, we're going to call it around 375, dividing it by the 92 homes over 20 years.
To me, it makes more sense to do both the high and the medium, because if you don't do the medium now, then you have to do it later and it's just going to cost you more money. So to me, it doesn't make any sense to put that off. You might as well do both.
Right.
now.
And truth is, when we meet with the homeowners, we were talking about how to reach out to them. One thing would be is obviously we could try to send a letter to people's homes. Sometimes people don't get the mail right away. One idea that we came up with was, we're talking about putting a sign, like a banner, at their 3 entrances to the subdivision with the date. We think the date's going to be somewhere around either the week before Thanksgiving or right after it. And the idea would be is, hey, village meeting about your pond, come here on this date and time. Any questions, call us.
All right, thanks. All right, that concludes item 2. Need a motion to go to exec session to review executive session minutes, review of the release of exec session minutes, and property acquisition.
Motion to go to exec session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. All right, thank you.